And if you stay along with us, Kay, great, because there'll be time for a Q&A. If not, then we'll see you in the recording. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
I'm Heather Askea, and I'm happy to be here today with you again to talk about technology in the classroom because it's always something that's near and dear to my heart. And these days, it's kind of become near and dear, or I don't know how dear it is to everyone, but it's become just a way of life. We've had to adapt our just about every part of our lifestyle. Everything from our day-to-day lessons to our meetings to even going to the doctor sometimes is actually virtual in some cases. So life has had to change, and our education system has just like everything else has just rock and rolled it, and has changed as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here because we're going to talk about get to the right one here. Talking about hybrid or virtual. It takes just a second to load there. There we go. And why technology skills matter in today's classroom. Again, this is if you were here with that for the first one. If you weren't, that's no problem because we're gonna talk about some things from last time, but a lot of new stuff today. I was thinking a whole lot about some of the articles I've been getting feedback about the frustration that some teachers are having with the hybrid schedules and having to teach live at the same time as teaching with their students in the classroom. It's become chaotic in some cases, become hectic. And I don't think that was the way it was intended, but we can do the best we can with this model, and we can try to find ways to help you to be able to manage it more effectively. So we're going to talk about the elements of an effective learning module and finding resources today. Those are going to be two things we're going to really talk about. And we'll have at the end Q&A for any questions you may have or any thoughts that I didn't cover that you want to talk about. So first of all, I get this a lot when I talk about modules. What is a learning module? And basically, it's just any unit of learning. So it could be we're talking about a unit of measure. We have non-standard units and we have standard units, but it's any measure of learning. So if we're looking at a lesson plan, that could be a learning module, but it could be sometimes it's more involved. That it's block, or for me, I do week-long learning modules. So I have assignments that I post each day or post for the week for my students to do in mostly asynchronous and sometimes synchronous environments. And that's what I use in terms of what learning modules are. Now, you may do this daily. You may have work that the students do each day, and that way they can work through certain levels of content. And the reason that we do that is because it's similar to what we do in the classroom, where we provide different aspects of learning and support to support our students and to scaffold their learning. So let's talk about some things we talked about last week that we need to kind of go over a little bit. So there is synchronous learning modules and there's asynchronous learning modules. And so if you're synchronous, scheduled live sessions that are largely directed by the instructor. We've seen some funny posts about teachers, talking to their students, and some things that have happened through live sessions. And I think there's value in those live sessions, but I think there's also value in the asynchronous sessions where we have student-paced modules that are completed at a time that's best for the student, and the student is in charge. It's directed by the student. It does take a little more self-direction on the student's part to make sure that they complete asynchronous lessons, but sometimes it gives the student time to dive deeper into the subject. Whereas if you're just having this in a live session, it would be at your pace, not the student's. I think you can have elements of both in the learning module. I think it's appropriate, and I think in some cases, and especially knowing your students better, if a little more synchronous is needed or a little more asynchronous is needed, and you can kind of do elements of both. So when we think about what effective online learning modules should have, these are the four things, and this is 10 years of doing it wrong, fixing things, and it's basically been in my learning laboratory, adding a little bit here, taking a little bit here, and changing up things. These are the four essential things that I have learned. And some of this comes from some of my research, some of it comes from just doing it all wrong and then trying to fix it. You need direct instruction. One thing I see with online learning that I felt, especially this was especially true back in our emergency remote learning, not so much true these days, thankfully, but I still see this occasionally where you'll have lots of great activities, but no instruction, nothing to direct them to learn or to find, the information that you're trying to do assist them on. The activity's great, but what should they have learned, or what should they have watched? What media, what reading should they have done that would prepare them for the activity? So thinking about direct instruction that way. Quality resources, finding good resources that are effective, that are appropriate for use for your students. Activities or assessments that are appropriate and that are well defined, have good directions for completion. Those are absolutely vital. And then there's that student social engagement component. And all of these four elements come together. I've been doing a lot of research on community of inquiry, and so all of these four elements kind of come together in this area where you have domains of teaching like cognitive presence, where you're talking about the interaction between the student and the content. And you have teaching presence, and that's the student interaction between the student and the organization, the navigation, and the overall teaching, the decisions you make as a teacher to display, to deliver content. And then the last part of that is a social presence component, where students actually are engaged, and it's the amount of engagement they have with you as the instructor, with their fellow peers, and that the amount that we kind of see each other as real people. Now, if you're in a hybrid model, you meet each other, you've seen each other, so that's not as important. But if you're fully online, and you have students that are fully online, it's really important that you take those extra steps that you need to do to make sure that they kind of connect with you on a social level, that you're a real person, they're a real person, and that we're connecting on those levels. So let's dive into each one of these a little bit deeper. So let's look at direct instruction. And so it can be as simple as text with modular information, like in today's lesson, we're going to learn about X, Y, and Z, and you're going to do, and I'm really big on task lists, and I will say today's tasks are, or due by, and then I list them, because I feel like if you've got that checklist, if you've got a list, I can look there and see what's due, and I know what I'm supposed to do. When I say, okay, watch this video first, read this content here, and then work on this assignment here. Those are things that give me a step-by-step approach so that there's no guesswork. So you can also include things like videos. I mean, who doesn't love YouTube? And I would encourage any teacher to explore, if you don't have your own, you have a Google account, you have a YouTube channel. It's very simple to create one, and you can upload your videos from any number of resources. I know last week we talked a little bit about Hippo Video. I still love Hippo Video. There's tons of other video creation tools out there, and if you're familiar with that one over the other, then use what you're familiar with. Screencastify is a great one that's built right into Chrome. So if you use a Chromebook and that's easier for you, then you can do that. And you can also upload your Screencastify and Hippo Video videos directly to YouTube. And then I'll give you a little hint about why YouTube over just posting a video directly in your LMS and uploading it. If you upload a video format, a file, so I've recorded a 2-minute video introduction, and I don't want to put it on YouTube, so I want to just upload it directly to my Google Classroom. What happens is when I try to do that is it attaches it as an attachment, not as a video embed video. So YouTube is a video player, so it will start downloading and will play as it downloads. With typical file structures, especially with videos, and the larger the video, the longer it takes to download. So if I just attach the video just as an attachment, then my computer or my device looks at that and it downloads the whole thing and then starts playing. If you have students that are on a slow connection, they're really going to struggle with that, because it's going to be it's going to take forever to download, and then they're just going to tune out and they're not going to watch the video. So using something like YouTube, there's other platforms that you can use if you're not familiar, if you're not comfortable with YouTube, or your division doesn't support YouTube. There's other ones you can use. but using a video format player will help you with the download speeds and with helping your students access the content a lot better. There's also just a lot of great content out there. So if you're not comfortable creating your own content, look for really quality. There's some really quality YouTube videos out there. A lot of just about all of your museums, the National Archives, all those have YouTube channels. National Geographic, all of those have YouTube channels that have really targeted small bits of information that you can really share with your students and can really be helpful. You can also use a service like, say, Edpuzzle, and I'm gonna go out and look at Edpuzzle just really quickly. Hopefully you guys can see my screen still. And I'm going to Edpuzzle is a way for you to use video, but also interject questions and your comments to it. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. I'm going to log in with my Google account. And if you don't have an account, you can log in with Edpuzzle very easily. All right, so I can look at the videos that are out here. These are some videos that I have been working on. But you can look here at popular channels. You can pull all video from all of these places. So if I'm teaching, for instance, I'm teaching math, I can go to number file and look at some number file videos here. About what is this triangle, Fibonacci numbers hidden in this set. There's all sorts of interesting videos that I can share with my students, but I don't have to just share the videos. That's just part of it. So I can actually, let's see, I've got some covering my thing here. I'm going to go back to my home page here, and I'm going to look at my content here. All right, so when I go to my content, I'm going to go here and I'm going to add content. So here I can actually create a video. I can upload a video if I want to do that myself. But I can actually go ahead and look and come over here and find some videos. I can do some searches here. So if I'm looking here, here's one on combining like terms. So I can click on this one. And what I do here is I can actually go ahead and play the video if I wish. All right, if I want to add things here, I can edit this one. And what it will allow me to do is it will allow me to cut to just what I want of the video. If that's if I don't want the whole video, I can cut it down to just what I want to show. I can actually, sorry, Solcon, I can actually insert questions. So I can actually put a multiple choice question in, or an open-ended question, or even add a note. So the video will stop, the question will come up, and students will have to be engaged. And why is that important? Because again, how do we know students have watched these videos? We could find the best video in the world, and we don't really know if the students actually watch them. Now, some LMSs will allow you to place in videos, and they have to watch a certain percentage before it'll mark it off. That's a little more, there's a lot more to that than just what Google offers. So there's, if you know what your LMS is. But this will allow you to be able to insert questions. You can actually insert voiceover. So if you're watching, okay, wow, that is actually blocked to upload your video. So if I want to do my own video, I have to, if I want to use voiceover, I have to actually upload my own video. That's interesting. It's a new thing. But anyway, I can add questions, I can add notes, and I can actually edit the video within this. And that's what I love about that is, again, I have access to all of this content right here, which is fantastic. And these are, we all know National Geographic and the quality of their images and their education. So there's tons and tons of things. And I love that we can keyword search and find exactly what we want and use. When we're ready to assign something, when we've got it, maybe we've got what we need here, and we're ready to assign it, we can actually click assign, and you can actually pull this into, you can actually create a class here, or you can actually, it will create a public link or an embedded link, so I can actually copy that and put it right in my Google Classroom or my LMS. So there's a lot of ways to make sure that we can kind of connect everything up appropriately. All right, and another one I was thinking about today is thinking about feedback to students and instruction. We know we talked about Hippo video last week. Another one that you might not be familiar with is Awesome Screenshot. And I love this because you can provide directions. So if you want students to click on a certain place, that maybe it's not an obvious place that you want them to do or directions you want, you can actually add the Awesome Screenshot app or extension to your Google Chrome. And when you click on there, you can actually do record video that way, just like we did with Hippo video, but you can also do captures. So you can do the visible part of the screen, a whole page, or just selected parts of the screen. So I can actually just pull parts of the screen here and I can capture if I want. I can even copy it and paste it somewhere else, or I can capture it. And then with I'm going to cancel that for now. But I also have lots of things I can do with it. So I can, with the capture here, I can have a delay there. I can annotate and add notes or add, information for my students. I can add feedback, that kind of thing. So sometimes our students have problems like logging in or understanding how to submit where to submit things and what to press to submit things. So this is a way that you can really quickly and really easily grab a hold of the screen, show them exactly what you want to do there, and send that to them in an email, in a message, whatever. It's really, really super simple and easy to add. And then I love too that it's a Chrome extension, that it's right there on your Chrome browser. Any device you're on, it's right there, and it'll draw from your. You can also save video when you're doing videos. If you're doing your camera, or you're doing your desktop, or the tab that you're on right there, it tells you which microphone you want to use. And then also here you can actually save your video to the cloud. That's going to be in the Awesome Screenshot, your account. Or if you just want to put it to your device, you can say local and it will go to your device, so that you can edit it there. So lots and lots of fun there, lots of things that you can do. One thing I would talk about here is narrate presentations and screencasts are fantastic. Again, using Hippo Video, Screencastify, or if you're a PowerPoint user, PowerPoint has a great way of recording presentations. So you can just insert narration, or you can just record and we'll save it as a video, and it will record your screen settings, and you can also record it and it will narrate the whole thing through, and your timings are, you can click on your screen, it will advance, and it saves your timings and everything. So really, really super simple to use it, and it's really easy to share those in video format. Again, those live and recorded webinars, Zoom meetings, Google Meets, what you name it, you can use those as direct instructional pieces. Believe it or not, podcasts can be incredibly effective direct instruction pieces. So you can have students listen to a podcast and think about, a question or a history, especially with a lot. Just recently I've gotten into podcasting, and with some of the historical podcasts that are available that tell a story, and they're so engaging, and that you just can't help but want to listen to the next one. So kind of pull students in. And pretty much any form of media that provides your students with instruction. That's what we talk about when we're talking about direct instruction. Now, it doesn't have to be you live teaching every day. These pieces can be layered in ways that can provide a rich learning environment, but is not so demanding of you being in front of that camera 24 hours a day, or at least during that hour or 90-minute block that you have your students. So that kind of helps you to be able to be more flexible with your time, what you're doing with your students. So especially if you have a hybrid schedule where you are face-to-face with students at the same time you have virtual students. So your virtual students can get that you can. And the cool thing about building these things ahead of time is that they're there. You can reuse a lot of these pieces. So I would invest some time up front in direct instructional pieces like these, and you'll be surprised how much time it'll save you down the road. You can reuse a lot of these pieces, and there's a lot of economy that you can have in doing these direct instructional pieces that are asynchronous. All right, so thinking about quality resources. So links to additional readings, presentations, tutorials, interactives, anything that they're going to add to their understanding, that's going to help them to kind of engage with the content. That's what I mean with high quality resources. We want to make sure that we're finding things that are, vetted resources, especially. So going to museums, going to places that have quality resources that kind of tried and true places. And then when you find those things, that it's basically any form of text or media that provides support materials for your students, how do you share those with your students? So one thing I would suggest that you take a moment and learn a little bit about Wakelet. I know with most of our LMSs, we can put things in modules, and so you can actually put things in in formats so that they stay together. If you don't have that ability, say Google Classroom doesn't offer that particular type of activity, that particular kind of grouping, you can do it a little bit using topics. But as far as being able to present something on a page where students understand how the information should flow, check out Wakelet. Wakelet is free. You can there's actually browser extensions that will allow you to create a Wakelet really quickly. And this is one I started today, but I can look here. And let's see, I'm going to edit the plugin here. And so basically, this is what a Wakelet looks like. Well, let's see. Actually, I'm going to go back and start a new one. Yeah, here we go. Actually, I just didn't. Here we go. So this is a blank Wakelet here. So I'm going to start out and say, okay, this is going to be my remote learning resources. And I can write a description here. You guys are going to spell things correctly. Okay, I can even add a cover image if I want. There's also a brick and choose from the Unsplash. These are all pictures that are free to use. Let's see, I can do learning. That seems appropriate. Okay, so I have an appropriate image here. I can even tell it what to do. I just want to use the little one there. And then I can start adding resources here. So when I hit the plus sign, this is really intuitive. So I can paste a link here. So if I wanted to paste a link to a resource or a video, I can even add text. So if I want to add that in this lesson, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, you read this first, watch this video next, and then complete this activity. I can do that there. I can add an image. I can add a PDF if I've got a handout. I can also link to my Google Drive. So any templates I'm using or anything I want them to do, I can link there. And I can also pull videos that are not in YouTube video format. So I can do that as well. So I can actually add these resources. So if I want to add, for instance, let's see, upload an image, upload a file here. So if I want to add this here, it's going to upload. It's taking a little longer than I would hope. Here we go. And then I can keep adding things to this into my Wakelet as well. So I can actually do some editing here, or I can edit the image for it if I want. I can add a description to it so they know what this is for. And then I can change the layout here if I need to. I can look at the media view. I can look at a grid view so things are show up next to each other. So I can, depending on my students, I can do a mood board here where it kind of goes different places. There's all sorts of different layouts from that my students can see the content, and all of this is really, really good with mobile devices as well because it's very mobile responsive. When I'm ready to share this, I can actually do it an unlisted, so only people with the link can see the collection, or I can invite people to share it. So I can actually create a link or code. So I can copy this link and put it directly in my Google Classroom, and we're good to go. I can also email or usually email or usernames for people. This works great, especially if you've got Google accounts, because you can just email those right to your students. But I always like to have that link there so students can always come back and access it later and know where the link is. And I can copy that and paste that right into my Google Classroom as an assignment. And they can work through the resource. And so that's a great way to kind of curate all those resources that you have. And there's tons and tons of places that you can go for resources. Like we're going to talk about that in just a little bit later. All right, so going on to those activities and assessments. So thinking about quizzes and lesson activities, uploaded assignments. There's so many things that you can do that you can have students interact with content. You know, you pull out those Kahoots that you're using. You know, Quizlet has all sorts of features that you can embed and that you can share information and do. It's more than just flashcards anymore. You know, there's all sorts of different quizzes, all different games and things you can include to kind of spice it up. Nearpod, for instance, I love Nearpod. Nearpod's one of those, we could spend all day talking about Nearpod in terms of the usability. And so Nearpod offers a teacher-led, so you can do this during live Zoom sessions or Google Meet sessions where you can actually have students working along with you on their devices. But you can also do student-paced lessons. So students can actually, you can post a Nearpod assignment and they can work through videos and images. They can actually draw, if they've got touch-enabled devices, they can actually draw and, you know, if you have them graphing, or they can actually draw directly onto the screen. And it will save a copy of their drawings, and you can have them do, you know, matching activities, you know, circle activities. So even for your littlest learners, they can be successful and can follow directions and follow through the Nearpod. Lots of things there. You know, using Google Forms, you know, again, getting to know your platforms, and there's all sorts of ways that you can do quizzes and activities. And it doesn't have to be just this multiple choice quizzes anymore. So when we think about Google Forms, we can actually have forms that are reactive to their answers. So we can actually have them navigate through a quiz or through an activity based on their answers. So we could do choose your own adventure stories. We could do all sorts of different activities using these common activities and assessment pieces. Think something you might not be familiar with is Actively Learn. Actively Learn is a new one. It's relatively new for me, but they also have a whole catalog of information and lesson plans for you to use that you can take and use today if you wish. Let me get it to pull up here. So this is going to take you right to the teacher catalog. And one thing I really like about this one is that it also breaks it down by the Lexile levels. So you can actually break it down by reading level as well. So you can look at grades. I think right now they're just 3rd through 12th, but you can also break it down to lower Lexile standards. And then with the standards right now are not available with the free plan that I have, but you can upgrade and it will actually do it by standard. But you can do there's great keyword searches, some fantastic things, especially right now with the, you know, high interest articles. You can see the, you know, things that are trending right now. You can also pull in the information. So let's look at one of these information. So I'm not going to go anything near Shakespeare, maybe less controversial these days. But this is an example of an actively learned lesson about Shakespeare. So this one is from the Folger Shakespeare Library, and then it's licensed under a Creative Commons license. So this gives you the teachers, this is ideas for teaching this text here. Here's some related reading assignments. Here's a video about his life, about Shakespeare's life. And then we can go on and move on to the next part. This gives you some more information, some more reading, and you can tell it just kind of spreads it out. The cool thing I love about Actively Learn is that students can actually change the text settings. So especially if your student has dyslexia, you can actually use the dyslexic settings. And it will actually, well, let me log back in with my Google account. Sorry. You know, technology, gotta love it, huh? So here I can actually go in and change it using the dyslexic settings here, and it will actually use the dyslexic font. And you can actually change the size to the larger things. You can change the spacing if you need to change the spacing. If we can restore the defaults at any time, we can actually change the font so that you know, some things can be changed. Some things for readability can be changed, and for our younger readers, makes it a little easier. We can also use the high contrast settings So it makes it a lot easier to be able to customize information, and you can actually customize this one. So you can actually edit it and insert questions. So if we're going to customize this, Actively Learn allows you to go ahead and you can insert the authoring options here. I can actually, mark an assignment as a quiz. It will, it'll actually give you scoring for the quiz and questions that are here. I can add a pre-reading question here. So a short answer, a multiple choice, or a poll. I can add directions for students. So I can add all sorts. If I want to add directions here, I can, add, depending on what it is, I can actually, enlarge images here so I can actually see them here. Students can, and your students have the ability to do this as well. So it's really a neat piece here to be able to customize learning, and you can use, you can use these ones that are already created, or you can create your own from scratch. And so you can assign those to your students, and I believe this one works really well with Google Classroom, so it'll allow you to import it right into Google Classroom. So that's a great tool. All right, there's tons of others, and again, we could spend all day talking about these resources, but there's tons of others. But you can, it's basically trying to find things that are not just your typical essays. Upload assignments have their place, but think about how to spice up your activities so that those students are engaged. That's a really key factor here. And we talk about student engagement. How do we get students engaged with each other? And so we can have things like forum discussions, those asynchronous discussions that allow students to have wait time and to have time to engage with each other, to think about, to have those asynchronous sessions that are offline. And that can help some of your students. There are some students who have a hard time in that live discussion because it goes too fast, that they need a little wait time, or they're too shy to jump in. So having that asynchronous discussion forum allows everybody to have an even footing, basically, for the discussion. So that's a really good thing. You can do live chats. I've had some teachers that use Twitter chats. Most of your LMSs have a chat feature built in, so you can actually have that involved or enabled. You could use something like Flipgrid. Flipgrid enables you to do video. So video chats. So you can actually have, you send code to your students and they join. I'm going to go ahead and log in as an educator, maybe. But basically, Flipgrid allows you can post a video that your students respond to, or you can post a question and they respond to it with video. And the cool thing about Flipgrid is that it is really a one-click and record kind of a thing. You click on the button to record, you enable it through your device, and then you're able to record. I think it's 30 seconds up to 5 minutes of video. So if I have a question here for my students, I can have different boards here, and so I have different discussion here for the discussion one here, the response. And so this is one I just created on the fly. So, but when I go to share this video, what this actually looks like, I have the ability to sign it directly into Google Classroom. So if you're a Google Classroom user, Flipgrid is a fantastic tool, even though it's a Microsoft tool, but it works fantastically with Google Classroom. If you're a Microsoft Teams shop, no worries, you can just share it there. If you're using another LMS, you can actually copy the embed code and put it right into your Canvas or your Moodle page. It works brilliantly. Or if you just don't want to do all that, maybe that's too involved, then you can just share a QR code that your students can actually scan with their device and then answer the question. Or I can just copy the link and put it right into my LMS or my lesson. And then what happens is when they click on it, let's see if I can actually get to one here. Okay. That's what your favorite color is, and so someone is going to answer me. So this is the one right here. Let's see. I think I've got this one hidden, so it's not the best one to share with you guys, but your student will be able to answer you Okay, so he answered it by saying blue. So then I can enable it so that I actually have multiple being able to, the students can talk to each other, or they can just answer my question initially. So they can answer that. And so it's, I can think about show and tell. I can think about, all sorts of things that you could do with that. If you were, if you had students who were in the classroom and those who were at home. So lots of different things that you could do with those. Again, using live webinars or live online meetings through Google Meet, Zoom. There's all sorts of ways to engage students in that learning module. So you can think about how all these pieces work together. So let's review just a little bit, and then we're going to talk about resources. And so you're going to have, if any unit of learning, so if we're talking about, I use the word module, it could be a unit, could be a lesson, it could be whatever your terminology is, but they need to have all of these components to be effective as a unit of learning. So thinking about direct instruction, including videos, screencasts, interactive webinars. Again, you don't have to create all this yourself. There are tons of great resources out there on YouTube. HIPAA Video Creations, there's tons of great videos. Khan Academy, Merlot, I could give you I have a whole presentation just on resources because there's some fantastic ones out there. Learn how to use Google will help you a lot, being able to go in there and kind of specify what you are looking for. And then beyond that direct instructional piece, having quality resources to back it up. So do you have texts, articles, presentations, interactives, especially with my younger students, I always like to have interactives whenever possible, or a game link I can send to them that will kind of boost them. So resources that, like if you're talking about for high school students, academia is fantastic for helping them learn to write and to engage with the writing process and documenting their resources and things like that. If you're talking about the learning needs and things to help with your special ed students, look at the Iris Center. There's fantastic resources there. There's tons and tons of, again, you can go quality. And having activities and assessments, this can include quizzes, lesson activities, uploaded assignments if you want to, but I also love co-editing in collaborative assignments where students actually have to work on assignments together, editing a document in Google Docs together, editing a presentation in Google Docs or in Google Slides. There's all sorts of things that you could do that's not just the regular and additional sessions can be done with some materials and other online, but for the most part, there's lots of places that you can go. Let's say that my internet will hold. And the last part of that is your student and social engagement. Again, thinking about forums, chats, live activities, video message boards like Flipgrid. You could have them use Padlet, which is another kind of a message board that you can add. They can add resources or share resources or share their work that way. That way you have students that can see each other and they can see you and they kind of have that engagement with each other. That's the true way to build those effective online modules. All right, so finding resources, again, I keep talking a lot about resources, and one of the ones I want to talk about is, this one's a cool one because this is new to me, is Google's Applied Digital Practical Skills Resources. So you can actually go in here and explore some of these lessons, and I love that these are really, really great. So if I'm looking at so it goes down to late elementary, but I can do it by topic. So for instance, if I'm going to teach a class in science, maybe, or social, actually, let's do social studies, that's one I found already. So social studies here. So this is a creative presentation about, all about a topic. So this can be wide open. So you can choose a topic, here, create a guide to an area. So thinking about we're talking a lot about our place in the world. We're talking a lot about, learning and the learning we've taken place in our homes, in our hometowns. People aren't traveling like they used to. So creating a guide to an area, maybe that's in your home backyard, is a fantastic way. And so there's just a 4 to 6 hour activity that can be expanded over the course of a few days. And so there's all these really, really great ones designing infographics in Google Drawings. What a great skill to have. And there's so many skills that go in that are involved in that. Here's an explore a topic with innovators, Women's History, Earth Day, all sorts of fantastic. I love this one here. It says make your own space shuttle adventure using Google Slides, and you're going to start with using a space shuttle discovery on Google Arts and Culture. So if we look at that activity, you can start it, or you can actually share this one, because you're the teacher. You can actually share this to your Google Classroom, and it will ask you which classroom, which one do you want to share it to, and you choose the class you want to share it to. And what kind of action does it want to be? You want to be created an assignment? Is it just material? How do you want to treat this? And I'm going to create an assignment, and I'm going to hit go, and then I'm going to be able to edit it and give instructions for what I want my students to do with this assignment. So there's so many fantastic things that you can do here, and it's just, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're doing this. You're providing this really robust lesson to your students that you really don't have to do a whole lot of work for. So anytime I can do that and save myself some time is fantastic. Again, going back to Khan Academy, that Khan Academy is a fantastic place. But it's also great for learners, for teachers, for your parents. So if your parents are struggling with some concepts, there's some great, fantastic things there. You can kind of get an overview about the courses that are all available here. So there's math, high school and college science. There's even some arts and humanities things that are in reading and language arts that are provided, and they're not just provided, for instance, just providing videos. So it was used to be mostly videos that were tutorials, because it was based on Sal Khan tutoring his niece or nephew, and through videos. So that's how Khan Academy became what it is today. Is it grew from that. So you'll still see a lot of videos that's just Sal Khan explaining concepts, but it's kind of grown much beyond that. So here there's a whole course here on algebra foundations, but I can also go in and look at parts and pieces. If I only want to see a video, I can assign a video. So you can see here, these are overview and history of algebra. If I need origins of algebra, why all letters in algebra, can assign that. But I can also have different units here I can assign, but I also have activities my students can do, and that's I have practice here they can work through. There's even quizzes here. So there's all sorts of things that you can use that are already out there that are fantastic tools and resources that you're not reinventing the wheel, and you're not spending a ton of time in doing that. So I love those things. And then I'm also a big proponent of open educational resources. I think it's the more we share, we are. And if you're not signed up for Go Open VA, I really highly encourage you to do that. This is an initiative by the Educational Technology Department at the Virginia Department of Education, and it's been a phenomenal piece on sharing. And so you can go in and you can look for by keyword search, by subject here. You can look at the different subject. You can even look by standard. So you can look at the different standards if you're trying to teach, English standards of learning. You can look at what level, and I can search by that standard, and it will give me lots of things. It will give me activities. It'll give me, and I can also go over here and tell it what I want. So if I want a whole lesson plan, it will just break down the lessons here. And so you'll let me know when it was added, what type of a lesson it is. The ratings are typically ratings by teachers. So if other teachers have used it, have rated it highly. So you can actually drill down a little bit more if you'd like. And there's just some fantastic stuff here. Here's Beatrix Potter's Naughty Animal Tales, so we can talk about that lesson activity, and how she told the stories. So lots and lots of different things here, and there's some things here like this one here is how to teach a plant life cycle. I think this is a little bit mislabeled, but it is a lesson plan, but it uses Scratch to tell the plant life cycle. I guess it is storytelling in that respect. All right, there's tons of other resources that we could go into. I don't think we have anybody that's got questions right now, but if you do have additional questions, you want additional information, then there is additional help for you. Again, a lot of these I've shared before, but these are such pertinent resources. The Google Classroom Teacher Center, it's got everything you need to know and more. They're broken down in videos and tutorials that are so helpful. They're just so helpful. There's also a Google Meet Teacher Center that does the same thing, and there's actually several different tutorials there for Google Meet and Zoom Guide for educators. These break everything down that you need to know about using these tools in the classroom. And if you go to the Google Classroom Teacher Center, you can click on Product and the drop-down menu. So if you need to know, if you have questions about Google Slides, or if you have questions about anything of the Google product line, you can click on the product and it will take you to that Teacher Center. So that you know exactly, get your questions answered, and you can assign questions as you need to. When you're thinking about the pedagogy and the content help, the VDOE's virtual learning resources are just phenomenal. Wide Open School by Common Sense Education is phenomenal for that. You can also go back to the Go Open VA resources. I would encourage, if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer anything that you have. My name is Heather Askea again, and my email there is haskea@uvawise.edu, and I'm happy to answer questions that you have anytime. So I know technology is something that some people stress out about it. It's been my passion for using technology in the classroom for well, since nearly the beginning of my career. So almost 20 years now that I've been doing something in the classroom with technology and focused technology. And so to me, it's like, it seems appropriate to always use technology. Some people I know struggle with it, and we want to be here to support you in your learning and support you in your students' learning as well. So I want to thank you guys for coming, and have a wonderful evening. Thanks.